more time to My 3 Cents, coming to you live and direct from Stanhope, New Jersey. Look, see, I'm already meat clapping. I'll try to minimize the meat claps today. I'm sorry. Very special time of year. We're within a week of spring training now, so baseball's just coursing through my veins. It's all I can think about. I'm also about, 2 weeks and a day away from Mexico, so I'm drinking the Corona to prepare my bowels for the trip. I'm getting excited. Time's ticking down, so there might not even be any more episodes after this until I get back from the trip. With spring training coming up, I wanted to start diving a little deeper into baseball, talking some positions, some players, some tiers, and whatnot. We got a very special guest. Jimmy Kiff's going to be joining us. I think we have Jimmy now. So, Jim, thanks for joining the show. How are you today? How are we doing? Okay, it seems that we're having a little bit of audio difficulty there with Jim, so what we'll do is we'll move along and, okay, I'm getting that the problem is fixed. So, alright, so Jimmy, once again, thanks for joining the show. Are we ready to roll or what?
I'm ready.
Okay, alright, so then what I wanted to do was start talking about outfield, everybody's favorite position, and just talk about what our top tier players are mostly. I have 5 outfielders in my top tier, one of which is Carl Crawford, who's probably been the most newsworthy outfielder of the offseason, moving from Tampa Bay to Boston in the AL East. I think a lot of us have really high hopes for Crawford this year due to the fact that he's moving to such a heavy-hitting lineup in Boston. I mean, no matter how they line it up, I've heard a bunch of different variations. They got Ellsbury, Pedroia, Youkilis, Adrian Gonzalez, Ortiz, and now Crawford. So, I mean, you gotta think that he's in line for a lot of runs and a lot of RBIs. Jimmy, before I get into the rest of my top tier, what are your thoughts on Crawford?
Number 1, Carl Crawford is the definition of an all-tool player. He does everything. He runs, he catches, he hits, he plays the field. He does everything. He plays the bases well. He is the best. He is a numbers guy. You gotta love him in the Red Sox. It's a hot lineup this year. He's probably gonna bat second or third. He's gonna the stolen bases are definitely gonna go down, but everything else is gonna go up.
Okay, so Jim, it sounds like you're definitely one of those people who have very high hopes for Crawford this year. So let me ask you this: regardless of draft position, regardless of keepers and all that, let's say you decided you're gonna go out, you're gonna get an outfielder with your first pick. All the outfielders are available. Who you taking as your number 1 outfielder overall?
I'll take Crawford.
Okay, wow. All right. So I can't really knock you for taking Crawford number 1 overall. I personally don't think I would, but he is towards the top of my top tier. So let me get into my tier here. My top tier has 5 outfielders, like I said. All 5 of them finished in the top 6 of outfield scoring last year. The 5 are Braun, Crawford and Holliday, Cargo, and Hamilton. That's my top 5, and then you may be wondering, who's the other outfielder that finished in the top 6 last year? That's Jose Bautista. So I personally have Jose Bautista in the 2nd tier of outfielders, even though he was the top scorer last year in the outfield. I just can't, I can't put him that high based on 1 year's performance. However, he is also eligible at third base, which I think is a little more of an interesting pick for us fantasy owners, since it's not quite as deep as outfield. So, Jim, let me ask you this. Let's move on to third base. Why don't you start it off by telling me, what's your top tier of third baseman?
Zimmerman, Longoria, and Youkilis. No doubt about it, they're the top 3. If you want the best, there they are. There's a whole slew of third basemen, but they are the only sure bets. Everybody else is a question mark.
Okay, I don't think anybody would argue with Zimmerman, Longoria, and Youkilis. Fantastic players. However, I think some of us may have been looking for a couple other names. So before I go, why don't I ask you, what's your next tier of third baseman? Let's see where that gets us.
The next tier is obviously Alex Rodriguez. He's getting older. He plays for the Yankees. He's got head problems. Who the hell knows? Then you got David Wright. It's almost the same thing. New York plays games with you. These guys are the best, but they just can't. It's just something New York gets to you. I really believe in these 2, but I think that New York gets to you, and the top 3 guys are going to outplay these 2, no problem. After that, you got Jose Bautista, who hit 54 home runs last year. He was the second leading scorer in all of the league in fantasy. But he's down there. I'm ranking him at 6th at third base. I don't see this guy doing it again. It would be a miracle. It's not like he's been around for like a year and he just did this. He's been around forever. He's a veteran.
Okay. So, you know, I'm very similar there in that I have all 5 of the first third basemen you mentioned in one top tier. That's Zimmerman, Longoria, Youkilis, A-Rod, and Wright. And I definitely have them shuffled into a different order than you do. We don't have to dive into the details. The idea is that the fact that they're all in the same tier means that I believe they all have the potential to score in and around the same amount. So what I want to get to is Bautista again. He's also my 6th third baseman. I have him kicking off the 2nd tier. But what I'm wondering is, if I wanted him, how long can I wait? Or even if I don't want him, where's this guy going to get drafted is what I'm wondering. So Jim, why don't you give me your take of, if you draft, where would you draft Jose Bautista this year after his monster season last year?
Personally, I wouldn't touch him till late 3rd, early 4th, but I gotta say, there's no way the guy can make it out of the 4th round.
Okay, I have to say, again, although Jimmy, you and I often differ on fantasy points of view, I did do a mock draft of the 33rd League, and I have Bautista getting drafted in the 37th or 38th position, right towards the end of the 4th round. So I have to agree with you there. I just don't think he can slip much more with his third base eligibility. If he was only an outfielder, he might slip a couple more rounds. But as you said, 54 home runs, I mean, that's a lot of power. You can't pass it up. The guy hit 33 home runs in the second half last year. I should have looked it up, but I wonder how many players hit 33 all year. What, like 20 players? The guy hit 33 in one half. So that's that. Jim, that's really all the fantasy baseball I wanted to get in with you today. If you have a couple minutes, though, I'd love to ask you a few questions about your recent trip to Vermont.
That's fine.
Okay, so I know it was a lovely trip. We had a great time, but there's been a few rumors circulating on the message boards and the social media sites. So one of which was that you were hanging around quite a bit in your underpants. Now, is there any truth to these rumors?
Definitely.
Wow, okay, so, alright, just very black and white there. You were definitely hanging around your underpants. So, moving on from that, I know we also heard that there was a lovely California king for, you know, all 4 of us fine young men to share and enjoy. However, you chose to sleep in the general vicinity of Adam in some kind of pull-out couch situation. What led you to make this decision to choose to sleep near Adam as opposed to the wonderful California king?
You can't pass up on this guy. You got to take a chance on him.
Okay, wow. And after you made that selection, what can you say about his performance?
He is the best.
Wow, really? Okay, so I didn't know that you were so fond of his skills. What is it that you would say separates him from the pack?
He does everything.
You know, I have to admit, Jim, I haven't seen you this smitten in a long time, probably since you came home from seeing Legends of the Fall in the theater. After such an intimate weekend, I mean, would you go as far as to say you would consider taking Adam on in a match of Hot Tub Time Machine?
That is a huge question right now.
Alright, I guess we'll leave it there. I'm not going to pressure you, Jim, into making any more comments on this subject. Thank you very much, Jim, for checking in with us. It's always a pleasure to have you on the show. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. Hope to get back as soon as possible. Really enjoyed it. We'll talk to you soon. So thanks again from my 3 cents, baby.